Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello and welcome back to the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League on the Xbox platform. We're back for the 5th round of Season 18 and the Spanish Grand Prix. My name is Justin Sutton, and joining me once again, it's Andy.
Yes, Justin, it's good to be here once again. We arrive at the first traditional track of the European season at the Spanish Grand Prix. Of course, Baku is debatably half in Europe, half not, but this one is the first one that traditionally the teams come to in Europe, and yeah, it's a track that everyone knows pretty well. The circuit de Catalunya, 16 turns, a real technical circuit, and a real challenge for the drivers. Can Veloci Surprise bounce back after a major setback last week, where Leopard managed to get the win and suddenly, Justin, take the lead in the championship? Wow, that was such a shock. But Leopard has started the season so well. Let's see if he can continue that fine form here today in Spain.
Yeah, that's right. Veloci Surprise losing the lead of the championship last week at Baku for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Very surprising, we have to say, about that one. Unfortunately, having some issues and whatnot. But yeah, Leopard takes the lead of the championship after Surprise scored he scored 75 out of a possible 78 points in the first 3 rounds. So darn near perfect, but Leopard was right there with him, wasn't he, as far as consistency? He was in there getting second places for all of those first 3 rounds, and as soon as Surprise made that slip-up in Baku, got that 9th place, only picked up 2 points, Leopard swoops in, gets the win, gets the championship lead, and yes, we do have 17 races still to go, but obviously this is, it's fantastic to see things nice and tight in the championship. Also good news, we have 17 drivers out there today, and one of them is OMG, it's Joe.
Yeah, Justin, absolutely great to see him back in amongst the action. He's certainly last season really, in fact, it would be fair to say across the whole of the F1 2018 game, he really made a name for himself, came through to be one of the top dogs in this tier, and of course winning as well for the first time. And yeah, it's good to have him back. He's missed 3 of the opening 4 races. I think he's been away on holiday, actually enjoying the summer for the majority of it. He did make an appearance in Bahrain, but it was a forgettable one, finishing in 14th. So, this is where his season really starts. I think he made a joke a few weeks ago about he only had to win the remaining 17 races to win the championship. I think it's fair to say that it's an uphill struggle if he wants to do that. But yeah, it's good to have him back, and there should be an extra driver in amongst the front of the field, Justin, able to challenge the likes of Leopard and Surprise, who have locked out the first 2 places for at least 3 of the opening 4 rounds, and were, of course, on course to do the exact same thing in Baku before Surprise had that issue, which we later found out wasn't really his fault. I think it was a laggy Simon on his screen that caused him to have the accident. So, yeah, as we spoke about OMG, there he is, going to the top of the timesheets, a 1:18.4 on the hard tyres at this early stage of the session. But there's plenty of other drivers out there looking to try and get in amongst the top, to the likes of Snazzy Evening. He was getting better and better as the season goes on. He's another one that can certainly threaten. TRL Martin in recent weeks, he's looked pretty strong. So, yeah, all set for an exciting race, Justin, and Surprise, he'll be desperate to get back to winning ways after a nightmare in Baku.
Yeah, he's only 2 points behind Leopard, and let's see, Simon is 46, so he's still 31 points ahead of CRG Simon. So at the moment, it is very much about Leopard and Surprise sitting on 79 and 77 points respectively. CRG Simon in 3rd position with 46 points, only 1 point ahead of CRG Morso, who's sitting on 45 points. Pinecone, meanwhile, who I'm actually on board with at the moment in the Mercedes, he's just climbing up the hill into turn 9 now. Pinecone has only attended 2 of the 4 races that we've had so far, and he's already in 5th position with 33 points after scoring 3rd in China and 2nd in Baku. So he's 2 for 2 when it comes to when it comes to getting podiums as far as the races that he's actually attended so far. So yeah, it's great that we have Pinecone immediately jumping in after missing the first 2 races and being on par with the top guys and getting onto the podium for both of the races, as well as OMG, it's Joe. And yeah, you mentioned it was a bit of a forgettable one for Bahrain. At least it was for Joe. He would like to forget about Bahrain if he possibly could, since in his mind anyway, he feels that he was kind of robbed of a podium there after disconnecting in the tail stages of that race. So yeah, he's going to be focusing on the rest of the season, but he's got a real uphill battle, having scored 0 points so far in this season. We've got 15 drivers that have all scored points, and OMG, it's Joe is surprisingly not one of them yet, but of course missing races, as Andy pointed out. He was on vacation on holiday, so hopefully he's rested and relaxed and ready to be competitive out there today for the Spanish Grand Prix. But yeah, he is quickest overall. He's only half a tenth quicker than Snazzy Evening, though.
He has early days, of course. Everyone out there on the hard compound tires at the moment, and that pretty much answers what we were expecting. It looks like everyone's just going to do a couple of sighters on those hard compound tires, come into the pits, and it looks like it's going to be a mad dash on the medium compound. And that looks like the tyre to start the race on. It looks like the soft's just not going to have the durability required for a strong race tyre. So everyone looks like they're going to start this race on the medium compound and presumably move on to the hards in the second stint. And I would imagine everyone outside the top 10 will either do the same or just do the reverse and start on the hard compound. So yeah, it looks like that's the case. So it's going to be just the waiting game, Justin, as I've seen so many times, particularly on F1 2018. Right to the end of qualifying, and you know, we like that sometimes. It can mix up the grid, you know, when everyone's not got several laps, several chances. It really does show that the top guns can rise to the top. The top, there's a lot of pressure on the drivers with one run at the end, and it certainly looks like that will be the case on the medium compound. But at the moment, Joe on top, and it's a good way to come back to the action to start things off. And as I say that, though, LCR Leopard, the youngster, goes top by a few thousandths of a second. So Leopard leading the way at the moment from Joe, and the ever-improving Snazzy Evening, who in the last couple of races has picked up a 5th in China and a 6th place last time out in Baku. So having had a bit of a steady start and failure to finish in Australia, then a 10th place in Bahrain. Snazzy Evening slowly finding his feet in this AOR top tier, 5th and 6th, and slowly starting to pick up some strong points, Justin, as I go on board with him now, starting a lap down at turn 1 and 2.
Yeah. You know, we were talking at the beginning of this season, or I guess the beginning of the season for us was China, since we both missed one of the first 2 races. But we were talking in China about our high expectations for Snazzy Evening after seeing him as a participant in the F1 esports, as are a number of these drivers, in fact, with Veloce Surprise and Snazzy Evening and P1R Brown and Jason97 F1. Speaking of which, Jason97 F1, one of only 5 drivers that has scored points in every single race so far this season in the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League on the Xbox platform. Unfortunately, though, he is not here today, so he will unfortunately not be continuing that trend for him. But Snazzy Evening, who again we're on board with at the moment. Oh, is LCR Mulder is feeling the need to go on the soft tires. I wonder if he's just doing a sighting lap. I'm not really sure on that one, because as we mentioned, the medium and hard compound tires really are the best ones for the race here today. We're not expecting to see the soft compound as a planned compound for anybody. Snazzy Evening coming around the final corner, and what will the lap be? Just over 8 minutes still remaining in the session. He does go quickest of all, but it is very marginal, 0.13 of a second thereabouts. But yeah, 118.3 for Snazzy Evening. Again, this is more sort of what we were expecting from Snazzy, so it's fantastic to see him just kind of living up to the expectations that we have set for him, and I'm sure some of the viewers will have set for him as well, especially after those good performances in F1 esports. So always great to see people on the rise and making their way up and getting their names known and all that kind of stuff. For the most part, we've only seen really the hard compound tires. At the moment, I am showing the tires that are currently fitted. If I go over and show best, yeah, you can see absolutely every single lap time that has been set so far has been done on the hard compound tires, but we've got less than 8 minutes to go in this qualifying session, so I think we can start expecting to see people come out on the mediums pretty soon here, Andy.
I think so. I think WR Verstappen might have just run off there.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think he might have just stopped at the top of, just before turn 9 at that high-speed right-hander that is Campsa. So I don't know if he's maybe had a trip over the gravel through turn 7 and 8, got in the curb and had a small spin. But I think Verstappen, he's got going again, so looks like he's going to make it back to the pits unscathed. But yeah, as you say, Justin, we're closing in now towards the end of the session where we'll start to see the first runs on the medium compound, and then we'll get a first bench mark time to see what we're looking at. But yeah, looks like Verstappen is just going to make it into the pits now, and I'd imagine the majority of the runners will be making their way in a few moments' time. But yeah, it is a good track. It is an exciting racetrack. I'm sure we'll see plenty of overtaking action in the race as well, Justin, down at turns 1 and 2. That's probably the best area to see any overtaking. We might see some down into turn 10 as well at the end of that second sector, where we have just seen WR Verstappen go through after he spins. So yeah, 2 good overtaking opportunities on this circuit, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the race as we gear up for the closing stages of qualifying. I wouldn't say that grid position is absolutely vital around here, as Veloci Prize now goes quickest on a 1:18.1, and is that some ominous signs from the man who has won 3 races so far this season? That's P1R Brown now.
Yeah.
Goes second of all with a 1:18.2. Great effort there from P1R Brown, but early signs showing, Justin, that it's going to be, and Pinecone now as well, in there with a 1:18.2. It's very close amongst the top 4 or 5 cars, 6 cars in fact, within 3 or 4 tenths. So if this is a warm-up of what we're going to see on the mediums in a few moments, Justin, I think we're in for a thrilling end to qualifying.
Yeah, I think you're right about that one, no doubt about it. As I've gone on board with Mulder, who again was on the soft compound tires. I'm not sure if he's an X-Files fan. I'm not sure if that's where the Mulder name comes from, and he has backed off right after the final corner, so he's not actually interested in going out there and setting a time on the soft compound tires. He crosses the line with a 1:22.1. He came to an almost dead stop out of that final corner, though, so I think that shows he was really on for a good time, obviously, but not keen to start on the soft compound. Unsurprising there. It just really doesn't last around here. But yeah, as Andy was saying, this was something I wanted to touch on just to tell you guys, the viewers, who maybe aren't already aware, but this is not at all like the Spanish Grand Prix that you see in real life, where it's very difficult to overtake and all that kind of stuff. No. We should expect lots of overtaking, lots of excitement. This should be a really, really fun race, as most of the drivers are actually coming into the pits right now. Oh, just went on board with John Pap 183, who I believe I'm in a group chat with the drivers, and I don't usually talk in there, but every once in a while I will go in just to see what people are talking about. And John Pap was saying that he's going to be on controller for today's race and having done 0 practice. So I think that's why we're probably seeing him way down in 14th position. Might not be the best race out there for him today. He might just be looking for damage limitation, and he is indeed going to come back into the pits as well. I think Alper Ball, Alper Ball, because Mulder's on his way back into the pits, so Alper Ball really the only one, as Bobberts has left the session. I've noticed Bobberts and P1R Brown leave the session and come back to the session previously, so thank you, GirlX16618X, for sending me a friend invite on Xbox. Really appreciate that. So yeah, we can expect everybody to be coming out on the mediums. Less than 4 minutes remaining in this qualifying session, so this is really when the serious stuff starts.
The serious stuff about to start, as you've already seen from LCR Mulder. He was trying to maybe bait some people out there onto the track on the top compound, maybe, and then slowing right down. And I've got to say, Justin, I'm pretty glad he wasn't the only. He was the only one going that slowly, because I think we could have had a repeat of yesterday's qualifying in the real life Formula One. So thankfully, we don't have 20 cars going down there cruising at 20 miles an hour, because that was a bit of a farce yesterday. And I think we're going to see a real qualifying session. So a few cars out in their outlaps. Snazzy Evening is one of them. TRL Martin another. Jam Pancakes and ESR Amazed. I think ESR Amazed, Justin, is going to be the first man to put a benchmark time in on the mediums, and then it'll be Snazzy Evening. So I'm really interested to see what those two can do, particularly Snazzy Evening, because we feel he's got some reasonable pace. So those two will be the first ones to put a time on the board. Let's see what the benchmark will be.
Do you want to take us through a lap with ESR Amazed, actually? He's just coming down the start-finish straight now.
Why not? Let's go through a lap with ESR Amazed. One of the longest runs down to turn 1 from the start line, right up there with the likes of Monza, shifting down into 4th gear, in fact, for ESR Amazed, as he sweeps his way through turns 1 and 2, and then through turn 3, absolutely flat out through there, running right out towards the rumble strip on the exit, and then braking down at the end of the first sector, 21.8 through the first sector, 3/10 up on his previous best on the hard compound tire, and then swooping over to the right-hand side of the road to make the turn in a lot easier for that hairpin. Now accelerating down through turns number 6 and into this tricky chicane, turns 7 and 8. You need to be committed. You can't run wide and go onto the carb in the runoff area. It will really compromise you. Now through turn 9, the real corner that separates the men from the boys on this racetrack. ESR is flying through there through the second DRS zone, and then down to the end of the second sector at turn 10. 8 tenths up, but he's running into traffic and they'll need to jump out the way as he hops over the curves. And this is the area of the racetrack that usually for the real life teams, it's Pinecone nearly gets in the way. And look at this, this is going to ruin his lap, and there you go, ESR Amaze in the way there. Amaze was on a quick lap, they were all queuing up, and Amaze just had to bail out right at the end and came into the pits, and unfortunately they weren't watching where they were going, they weren't aware that Amaze was on a quick lap, and in the end he's going to have to come into the pits, put a new wing in the car. In fact, this is qualifying over, but only a minute and a half left, and Snazzy Evening goes quickest on a 17.5, so that is the time to aim for.
Yep, that is the new medium best time with the medium compound tires. So Snazzy Evening, I presume, is not going to... Yeah, he's not pushing right now. So let's switch over to Veloce Surprise, the one-time championship leader, not the championship leader anymore. But he's just making his way through turn 6 right now. LCR Leopard's only on his outlap, so we'll stick with Veloce Surprise for right now, and then we'll switch over to LCR Leopard as Jam Pancakes now. The next to dip into the 117s with a 17.797 for the Racing Point driver, as Surprise does not pick up any issues on his run down into turn 10. And just the final sector now to go for the Alfa Romeo driver. He does have a car ahead. He's not going to be picking up too much dirty air effect through that long right-hander of turn 12. Clunks over the curbs, gets it all slowed down for that final chicane. Again, using lots and lots of curving at the inside of the corner there. Through the final corner he goes, up through the gears, across the finish line, and where is it going to be? It is provisional pole position with a 117.220 after OMG. It's Joe, sets a time of 117.3. Pinecone with a 117.5 now. That's a pretty good lap from him as well, too. Let's go over to Leopard. He's just making his way he's making his way through Sector 2 right now, into Turn 7. I don't hate a lot of corners, but I do hate Turn 7 with a passion. It called me a bad name or something. I actually hate that corner. It's terrible.
It's difficult. It really is difficult. You just don't know how to approach it, Justin. If you can find yourself sliding wide and running off the racetrack, and it just compromises you all the way up the hill because you're pretty much flat out from that moment on, all the way through to turn 10. So it can really hurt you. But Leopard is finding time at the moment on this latest run in the final sector. Has he got anything in his pocket? Can he try and put this onto the front row? It's very tight between the top two, only a tenth between them. Here comes LCR Leopard round the final corner here in Spain. Can he put the Red Bull on the front row? Can he put it on pole? No. It's fifth quickest. A little bit of an anti-climax there for our championship leader, a 1 minute 17.5. Is there anyone else out there? I think Martin might be known. Martin has abandoned his run. What about P1R Brown, Justin? He's at the end of the lap.
Oh, is it WR of Verstappen as well is just making his way. So let's switch over to P1R Brown. He crosses the line. Where's he going to go? It's only good enough for 6th quickest for P1R Brown. WR Verstappen in the other Racing Point. Can he do better than his teammate Jam Pancakes? He's going to cross the line, and it is going to be 7th quickest. So actually the two Racing Points are locking out the 4th row of the grid in a very tight part of the qualifying. It's very, very close, I would say, sort of like from 3rd down to 8th. It's about half of a second from 3rd down to 8th, and honestly, Surprise isn't that far off, that far ahead either, and about actually only 0.3 of a second from 3rd down to 8th. So it is very close out there. Difficult qualifying, but Surprise does take that pole position ahead of OMG. It's Joe, the other Mercedes of Pinecone, starting from 3rd position in today's race. Oh, and the Racing Point slams right into the back of the Williams. Oh, and now he's just bullying him. You'll want to watch that on the stream. That's a funny one. But there we go. That is the end of qualifying. I don't care about my XP. There we go. Snazzy Evening in 4th position in the Haas. LCR Leopard, our championship leader, starting from 5th position and on the 3rd row of the grid alongside the Williams of P1R Brown. Then comes the Racing Points of Verstappen and Jam Pancakes, the Ferrari of Danny F31 and John Pap 183. Despite doing very little practice and being on a controller, will line up inside the top 10. CRG more so on the hard compound tires from 11th position. That could be a good spot for him, though. We saw CRG more so in the F1 Esports use an alternate strategy to great success. So that could, I'm not going to rule him out from a possibly fantastic finish actually here today from 11th position. So I'm not going to discount more so. He's currently 4th in the standings. He hasn't finished any lower than 6th so far this season with a high finish of 3rd position. That was in Bahrain. After the issues for OMG, it's Joe. So that is how they're going to line up for today's race. Before we go to the race, though, we are going to have a quick word from our sponsors. All right, we are back. Thank you so much for that, everybody, for your patience. But, whoo, yeah, this is going to be a good one. Surprise, starting from pole position. He's got the two Mercedes right behind him, though. OMG, it's a Joe and Pinecone, and we are preparing to go racing. Actually, a nice. Oh, that's right. We've got the formation lap. So I'm still in F1 esports mode where they've turned off the formation lap. So yeah, we could go through one more time here, but. Yeah, Surprise has the silver arrows right behind him. It's not going to be easy for him, is it?
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. As I mentioned on the hot lap we saw from ESRMAs, there is one of the longest runs down to turn one from the start-finish line up there with the likes of Monza. So, yeah, he's going to have two silver arrows in his slipstream, determined to try and make that move into the first couple of corners. And, yeah, it is certainly a good opportunity down into turn 1 and 2 to make a move. It's not too tight, so... yeah, OMG, it's Joe, CRG Pinecone. They'll be looking to get the all-important start to move alongside Surprise. Because as you mentioned, not much between Surprise and OMG, it's Joe. Only 1/10 of a second, then a little bit of a gap back, and then a third down to, what was it, 8th place, 2.5, 3/10. Really, really close behind that as well. So all set up for an exciting race at the front, an exciting race in behind that. Tyrrell Martin, he's out of position. He's got a lot of work to do after a bit of a shaky qualifying, and as you also pointed out with CRG Murso, who actually said his best lap on the hard compound tyre, he's now going to have fresh tyres, and he could come charging through because he's done very well so far this season, and he'll be looking podium, remember, back in Bahrain, and very close to one in Baku. So what can he do from 11th place? Plenty of stories throughout the field. Murso has started the race on hard tyres in 11th. Franglish is on mediums. Martin, Alberball, Mulder on hards, ESRMAs mediums, and Boberts on hards. Obviously, everyone in the top 10 starting on the mediums because that's what they qualified on. But interestingly, Justin, 4 or 5 out of the 7 cars outside the top 10 have opted for the hard compound, so that's interesting.
Yeah, they're going to go for that alternate. So I did watch the PS4 race, as I tend to do. That's usually the one that I'm... Because the PC race, obviously, by the time it gets going, I'm like 15 minutes away from needing to start setting up the stream. But on the PS4 platform, it was around about lap 13 or 12, thereabouts, give or take, of course, when we started seeing them come into the pits, the medium runners, that is. Whereas it was more about lap 18, 19, or thereabouts for the hard runners, as SSR Boberts does find his way onto the grid. Let's go on board with CRG Pinecone from 3rd position. And I don't normally do this. I don't normally go on board for the start of the race, but we are going to go on board with Pinecone. Oh, we didn't get any lace whatsoever. We're away in racing in Catalunya for the Spanish Grand Prix, and it looks like a great start, actually, for Surprise. OMG, it's Joe. No changes of position there. Snazzy Evening looking to go side-by-side with LCR Leopard, actually, and it looks like he's going to maintain that position ahead of the Red Bull. Meanwhile, WR Verstappen going side-by-side with P1R Brown. A bit of contact between the two of them. P1R Brown seemingly losing positions here, actually. Let's actually switch it over to the position change. Yeah, Danny F31 gaining loads of positions, a couple of positions, already up into 7th position. P1R Brown losing 2 positions, having started 6th on the grid, but the top 5 are as they were. P1R Brown now having to worry about Jam Pancakes, who was trying to go around the outside of turn 5. That's not quite worked out for him. In the background, though, Martin and Morso are actually going side-by-side around the outside for Martin into turn 7, and it looks like it's just about going to work out for him. Martin does move himself ahead of Morso. He's up 3 positions already in this race. An incredible start for the Alfa Romeo driver.
A great start from TRL Martin. He needed that after the poor qualifying session. Franglish is down 5 places at the back. Not too sure what's happened to him. But Veloci Surprise, it was the perfect getaway, as you say, Justin. He needed it with the 2 Mercedes climbing all over the back of him. Snazzy Evening did well to get back ahead of Leopard because it looked like Leopard was ahead into the braking zone at the first corner. But Snazzy was aggressive on the brakes and got back through. So a crucial move there for him. Leopard still stuck in 5th place. And we've got an off, Justin. That's WR Verstappen spinning at the final corner. And they're all just about avoiding him.
Oh!
No, they're not.
Oh!
1, 2, and 3 cars off. We've got Boberts, Verstappen, and John Papp all out of the race. And I've only got a virtual safety car Well, at least it's something. We don't usually get anything, but we've got a virtual safety car after a huge pile-up going down the start-finish straight, all caused by WR Verstappen having a huge spin coming out of the final corner.
Yikes, yikes. I only just caught the tail end of that, unfortunately, kind of only seeing the aftermath rather than the actual explosion itself. Woo! Yeah, that looked like a pretty bad one, and as Andy said, the virtual safety car is out, so all of the drivers are going to have to drive to a Delta as the virtual carbon fiber is removed from the track, because, yeah, that was a big one. John Pap, Boberts, Verstappen, all involved in that one after the Racing Point lost the back end from inside the top 10 as well, too, so that's really got to hurt for Verstappen. He was up in 7th position after qualifying, really looking good for a possible fantastic, great start. And Verstappen, one of the drivers that actually hasn't scored yet this season, so I imagine he's really going to be upset about this. Just, you know, whether it was his fault or not. Again, I didn't see what led up to the incident as we're back to racing. So the virtual safety car has ended. So yeah, I don't know the circumstance of what happened there, but I imagine he's got to be very frustrated with that after starting from the 4th row of the grid alongside his teammate. DRS is enabled. John Pap he has scored points. He scored points actually in that was in Bahrain where he scored points, and Boberts is one of those guys that's been kind of fighting in the midfield. He's only scored 2 points with 2 10th place finishes at China and Baku, but unfortunately not going to be any points for him. Only 14 drivers still remaining in this race, Andy.
Look to me, Justin, I know you caught it late, but I think Verstappen just lit up the tyres on the exit curb on the final corner as he went onto the start-finish straight. Either that or he actually went onto the gravel. I didn't see that much, but he certainly slewed across the track, bounced off the pit wall on the opposite side, and then went into the middle of the road. And then, of course, we all saw what happened after that. 3 cars all out the spot, big shunt, and we're down to 14 runners in a flash. Looks like P1R Brown is the closest at the moment on the racetrack to making any kind of move. He's right up behind Danny F31 in the battle for 6th and 7th. And Danny F31, he's had a fantastic start, up 3 places so far. We've got TRL Martin up 4 and ESR Amazed up 5. I think the majority of those further down the field making up places due to that big shunt. But it's a shame for John Pap, who qualified reasonably well, it has to be said, on the pad, jumping in right into the deep end. So a good effort from him it was. So it's a shame to see him out of the race. The Greek god gone after just 2 laps of racing. But surprise, he holds the lead, 8/10. He's got him at arm's length as Joe and him trade fastest lap times out front. But P1R Brown looking quite close here, Justin, to move on Danny M7. Danny not got the DRS to LCR Leopard in front, and Brown is gaining and gaining and gaining and gaining down towards turn 1, but not close enough as he reaches the brakes through that first couple of corners. And P1R Brown will have to try once more.
Danny F31, another one of those drivers actually who has yet to score so far this season. In fact, he's the highest ranked of the drivers in the championship who has yet to score. He's currently sitting in 16th position behind SSR Boberts, actually. Currently sitting in 6th position, you have to say. He's looking good for a solid points result here today. Just having a look through the field, it looks like LCR Leopard actually is the one that could be on the attack. I've noticed that AOR Franglish as well has been very, very close to the back of ESR Amazed for 11th position. So I'm trying to keep my eye on all of the gaps to make sure we don't miss anything if at all possible. But it looks like Leopard not going to do anything on Snazzy Evening on this particular occasion. So let's go on board with OMG It's Joe as he finishes out lap number 4. And he will, of course, get the DRS off of Surprise, off of that Alfa Romeo up ahead. And he will possibly be looking to make a move into turn 1. Can only guess. He's going to need a good exit, though, out of that final chicane because, of course, full throttle through this final corner, and I don't think he's gotten the exit that he needs. He opens up the DRS. He's going to be getting a whiff, just a whiff of a slipstream here as OMG It's Joe does set the fastest lap of the race. He's already built a 1.5-second gap down to his teammate CRG Pinecone, so...
Here comes P1R Brown. Justin into turn 1. He's going to go down the inside. Apologies for coming across you, just so we catch it, and Brown gets his way through on Danny F31. He was close on the previous lap. This time he has done it. Breezing past into the first corner. Danny could do nothing. The overspeed was too strong, and P1R Brown up into the top 6. Sorry, Justin, for coming across you.
No, I'm glad you did, because, yeah, that was a fantastic overtake. Great to see P1R Brown making moves up at the front, moving himself up into 6th position, back to where he actually started this race from. Danny F31 starting from 9th position and having to work his way up into that, what was 6th place position not that long ago. Back on board with OMG It's Joe. He's got the DRS and the slipstream on the run down towards turn 10. A difficult place to overtake. It's not quite a long enough straight as it's just not quite long enough. It gets you pretty close, but it's really difficult as far as actually making the overtake. Oh, P1R Brown! What has happened to P1R Brown? He has dropped like an absolute stone. He's behind Franglish, actually. He's still going on the circuit. He appears to have all of his front wing as far as I can tell. So I'm not sure what... Yeah, it might have been lag. I'm starting to think it was. The way that... Yeah, he is. He's lagging, because I just saw him lag behind Mulder and Alperball. So that has got to be so frustrating for P1R Brown, who was in a solid points position. He had just taken 6th place, but of course that's great news for Danny F31, as Leopard and Snazzy Evening are side by side, and Leopard gets the move done as P1R Brown also picks up a 5-second penalty. I have a feeling he's probably going to be, yeah, and there it is. He does retire. Very unfortunate for the Monaco race winner from season 16. Oh man, you got to feel for P1R Brown, and we're down to just 13 people. It's a bone dry race at the Spanish Grand Prix, one of the circuits that these drivers are the most familiar with, and we've already lost 4 drivers.
Yeah, this is Barcelona, not Baku. Don't know what's going on so far, but what I will say, Justin, is look at OMG, it's Joe. I would be extremely encouraged if I was OMG as Joe at this stage. He's right up behind Veloci Surprise, putting in a solid opening to this race. And from what I've seen of OMG, it's Joe, and I'm not just talking about AOR because I've only seen him once, but in other leagues too, he hasn't had the strong pace that he had in the previous game. But so far today, and I know there's a lot of slipstream to be considered too, he is climbing all over the back of Surprise, not making this easy, and 3 or 4 tenths off the back of him. As I say that, though, he gets a poor exit coming out of the final corner, and that might be his chance gone in this particular lap. But I would be extremely encouraged if I was OMG it's Joe in the early stages of this race, because he is certainly putting up a strong fight, and the front 2 are breaking well clear of Pinecone and the rest.
Sergi Morso on TRL Martin as Martin defends the inside line into turn 1. Morso can't quite find a way past the Alfa Romeo. Of course, with TRL Martin picking up the DRS and the slipstream off of Danny F31 just up the road there, so Morso has to hang behind for the meantime. Let's just remind everybody of the tire compounds that everybody is on, because Martin and Morso are on the hards. And Martin is, let's actually switch it to the leader. Yeah, TRL Martin is only 9.5 seconds off the leader, and he's on the hard compound tires at the moment. So you have to say Martin and Morso are definitely looking on for a solid result here. We've actually only got 4 of the hard runners still remaining in this race, so it has not been the greatest of starts for the hard runners after losing both P1R Brown and SSR Bobbert. So we lost a third of the hard compound starters. But at the moment, it does look like Jam Pancakes is really holding everybody up here. He did a great job to qualify in the position that he did on the 4th row of the grid, but he is seemingly struggling at this point. So he is going to have to worry about the Ferrari behind. Let's switch it back over to OMG. It's Joe. He's going to be coming down the start-finish straight. And again, no, he just doesn't have the straight line speed. Either that or Surprise is just getting that exit out. Oh, it is very close between them under braking for turn 1. But yeah, it just seems to me that Surprise is just getting the exit he needs at the end of the lap to keep that Mercedes behind.
I was actually riding on board with OMG it's Joe as he went through the final chicane. He took much more of a tighter line. OMG it's Joe, well, I don't know how to explain it. He was kind of on top of the curb. Surprise took a wider entry, and that allowed him to catapult out the corner a little bit better, gave him a couple of tenths in hand. So maybe OMG it's Joe should maybe try and copy the line of Surprise next time round. But he certainly has the pace. Obviously, slipstream and DRS is a factor. There's no doubt about it on this game. But he's certainly showing he has enough pace to stick with him and make a fight of this. Perhaps an undercut. We'll have to wait and see, because Joe at the moment has the bit between his teeth, and he can't fight for this victory today. And that's what we want to see. That's not what we want to see, though. A 3-second time penalty for our championship leader, LCR Leopard, who compared to the first 4 races is having a bit of an average afternoon, Justin.
Yeah, you have to say, yeah, I would say below par as far as the standards that we've seen. Again, he's been kind of firmly in second place for the entirety of the season, and then picking up that win after the issues for Surprise in Baku. So yeah, it's definitely a bit strange to see LCR Leopard languishing down outside of the podium positions and 1.8 seconds behind Pinecone, and on the same compound tires as well. It's not as if he's gone for a different tire compound or anything like that. TRL Martin, I have to say, looking very, very close to the back of the Ferrari of Danny F31, who is also very close to the back of the Racing Point of Jam Pancakes. They're going to be side by side, Ferrari and Racing Point. Jam Pancakes gives a bit of a squeeze, a bit of a contact as well between the two of them. TRL Martin follows through, taking the racing line. He's going to see if he can grab grab a position off of Danny F31, trying to be opportunistic here. It didn't quite work out for TRL Martin. CRG Morso, another one that's kind of caught behind this. Oh, as Danny F31, a bit of a lockup. He makes contact with Martin. Bit of a slide for the Alfa Romeo, but he does manage to keep everything pointing in the right direction, and everything is as they were. But it really seems to me here that Jam Pancakes is holding up not just Danny F31, but also TRL Martin and CRG Morso, because of course here on lap 9, these hard compound tires are going to start to become quicker and quicker.
Absolutely. I would already say at this stage that TRL Martin and Merso have got Danny and Jam Pancakes in their back pocket going into the second stage of this race. They have got them where they want them on these tires, and Pancakes is certainly struggling. Danny's getting frustrated. He knows he's got these hard runners behind him at this stage, and that is not where he wants them. He'd have been wanted to have been 3 or 4, if not more, seconds up the road. But we need to go to the front, because OMG, it's Joel. Oh, he's only... Oh, again, he gets a poor exit out of that final corner. It was 3/10, but now it's back up to 6, and surprise again, gets the exit he needs. And by the time they get to that first corner, Justin, he'll have it covered. So let's maybe shuffle back down to maybe TRL Martin and Danny, because here they come, racing across the line again. Jam Pancakes looks like he's got a little bit of a cushion now, and now Martin looks like the one attacking on Danny F31 going down towards the first corner. But, you know, the DRS equalises it all out, and there's no way through. But certainly things looking strong for Martin and Merso at this stage. It'll come back to them later on. It's just all about how high they can finish.
This is intense stuff for Surprise and Jam Pancakes. They are two of the hardest working guys out there at the moment. We only have 13 cars still remaining on lap 10 of the Spanish Grand Prix for the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League on the Xbox platform. However, I mean, there's plenty of cars within DRS range. There's lots of potential opportunities for overtakes, but it just seems that that people can't get it done. It's very interesting to see. OMG, it's Joe struggling. It's actually very sort of similar to what we saw in the Italian Grand Prix in the real life Formula One just earlier today, where you know, people can get within the DRS range, but then they just seem to be lacking that straight line speed that they need in order to actually get the overtake done, as TRL Martin continues to languish behind Danny F31, who again continues to languish behind Jam Pancakes. It's a bit of a quiet race at this point now for the guys in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Pinecone, Leopard, and Snazzy Evening are all having a bit of a quiet race at this moment, with about 1.5 seconds between all of them and the cars around them and all that, and indeed a 6.2 second gap behind Snazzy Evening. So I'd say those guys are comfortably going to be within the top 5, at least at this stage. Oh, let's switch back over to Morso. Is he going to have the overspeed that he needs to make the move on TRL Martin? Nope, he's not. Again, it's just a stalemate in this battle for 6th position. But, you know, rather than look at it like, oh, nobody can overtake, it's unfortunate that nobody's going side by side, I look at this as being very, very impressed with the defending that we're seeing from Jam Pancakes, because he is doing what he needs to keep these guys behind, and they're clearly faster.
You know what the best of it is, Justin? I've just loaded up the data for his battery. He's still got 86% charge. He's not even using it up. He's in zero. He's using none.
He's toying
of
with
his
them.
ERS. None of his ERS through the middle sector. He's just flicked it up to 5 to go down this long straight, I think. So he's just saving all the battery, holding them all up round the corners, and then as soon as he comes out onto that start-finish straight, just unleashing an almighty power charge down that straight and just leaving them all in his dust. So Jam Pancakes with some brilliant tactics at this stage of the race. He's actually, and it's very rare to see this, got more than the majority of the people in the queue behind him, who are usually the ones saving the ERS in the DRS. So yeah, Jam Pancakes, they're doing things very clever, as CRG Pinecone is going down the pit lane, Justin.
Yeah, first of the front runners, the first car to come in the pits, indeed, as ESR Amaze actually follows him in. That's at the end of lap 11. Excuse me. So they will be going for a 22-lap stint on this set of hard compound tires. It's a little bit of an early stop, but it's not completely ridiculous. Again, I was saying around about lap 12, 13, and that sort of thing. So 1 lap early for Pinecone and Amazed. But, you know, if they come in 1 lap early and it avoids a significant amount of traffic in the pit lane, or getting held in the pit box because of all the traffic, that sort of stuff, then certainly it is worth it, no doubt about it. As Morso did manage to get past TRL Martin. I don't know when that happened, but Morso has managed to clear Martin, and it's actually more than a second between Danny F31 and Morso. So Morso cleared Martin. That built a little bit of a gap to the Ferrari up ahead. He's actually just gotten that back within 1 second, and does get the DRS, actually, does CRG Morso off the back of Danny F31. So Martin loses a position, but Morso already straight back onto that Ferrari's case. And again, these two hard runners. Yeah. Oh, Joe.
Joe's coming in, he's going to do the undercut. Well, he's either covering Pinecone, his teammate, or he's trying to get ahead of Veloci Surprise. Well, a bit of both, I would suggest. So down the pit lane comes OMG, it's Joe. Snazzy's coming in too. Is this going to hold Joe? No, it's not. So Joe gets a clear run through the pit lane. And I was just watching the two of them on board there at the end of that lap. Surprise was sliding, Joe was sliding, they were pushing each other, and Joe has made that call for the pits. Let's keep an eye on Pinecone. He's coming down the start-finish straight. Where is Joe going to be in relation? Joe has got that one covered quite comfortably and will retake the place well ahead of Pinecone. But the question is, can Joe get ahead of Surprise? It's going to be tough, Justin, because he's within 9/10 of Al per ball, so he's not going to have the clean air to maximise this the way he would have liked. So this is going to be crucial for Surprise and Joe.
Interestingly, Franglish has now also, I apologize if you already mentioned this, but Franglish has also now joined the Jam Pancakes train that's going on for what is currently third position. So, just yet another person to be involved in this battle. Danny F31 still can't manage to find a way past the racing point. I did say earlier that we would see a lot of overtakes at this circuit, despite what the real Formula One guys are able to do at this circuit. So it's a bit unfortunate, but again, at the same time, it's very impressive to see what Jam Pancakes is doing, because he is really jamming up the competition behind him, no doubt about it. I wonder if we'll actually see him come into the pits at the end of this lap in order to prevent any of these guys from potentially undercutting him. Let's switch on board with the Racing Point driver. Is he going to position towards the exit? No, he is not. Danny F31 continues on, more so, and Martin do as well, unsurprisingly. Surprise, though, and Leopard both into the pits.
Surprise into the pits, Leopard into the pits, and OMG, Joe's right up behind Albert Ball coming out of this final corner, so he's caught him at the right time. He's now slipstreaming past him. Where is Surprise going to be? Is that him on the pit exit? It is him on the pit exit, and I believe the undercut has not worked for OMG. It's Joe. Surprise has him at arm's length. He has it covered, and he should maintain the lead of this Grand Prix from this moment on. So Surprise then is still going to lead, and it's by around 9/10. So Joe unable to capitalise. Perfect stuff from the Alpha team, and it's going to be remaining as they were. Pinecone's going to remain third, and Leopard is going to stay in fourth as things stand. But I have to say, Justin, I love that little pun there. Jam Pancakes jamming up the field, brilliant, absolutely love it.
So OMG, it's Joe. Does have Surprise. He's still right there with him, and actually Surprise getting held up by Mulder. Interestingly enough, is he going to be able to get by on this medium length straight down into turn 10? No, he is not. He's going to have to stay behind the Toro Rosso for right now. The Boulder going a bit wide there, though. He is on the hard tires, as Martin has managed to get by Danny F31. He actually did that through turn 12. That's not a normal overtaking location. That's not something you typically see there. Surprise, definitely getting held up by Mulder here, but interestingly, OMG, it's Joe not really closing up to the back of the Alfa Romeo as a result of this traffic for him, but surely, yeah, he's got the exit through the final corner that he needs. DRS is open for the Alfa Romeo. Mulder's not going to bother defending that inside line. OMG, it's Joe actually sets the fastest lap of the race with the 1:20.6 on the rundown towards turn 1, and now it's his turn to be stuck behind the Toro Rosso, actually, as Surprise does breeze by under braking, yeah.
That there, Justin, could be the moment of the race. That move from Surprise. He's caught Mulder at the perfect point of the racetrack. Joe's now going to have to go through the whole middle sector of the lap, where it's very difficult to overtake following him. This is the chance Surprise has wanted to break that DRS window, and I think he's just about to do it. And Joe is getting frustrated. He's locking up going through turn 5, and he knows that could probably be the crucial moment in the race. It looks like Joe's resistance is going to be broken here by Veloci Surprise. There is a long way to go, but that, for me, Justin, is a critical moment in the race.
I think you're right about that one. Yeah, it's difficult. It's going to be difficult for him to try and claw that back, especially with Surprise doing as well as he is. He's got Danny F31 up the road, does Veloci Surprise, as OMG it's Joe is just hassling Mulder through Sector 3 here. But yeah, I think the Ferrari could be coming into the... I'm sorry. Is Surprise on mediums? Is that real?
Yes. What? What?
Has Surprise accidentally gone onto the wrong set of tires here? He does breeze by Danny F31.
No, Justin, I think it's going to rain. That's what I think it might be.
Oh.
Maybe, Justin. It's certainly darker than what it was earlier. Maybe it is rain. I don't know. Maybe he's at the wrong tire, or it's rain. We don't know. Oh, well, that's a big moment. 3-second time penalty. Veloci Surprise running wide there on the entrance to turn 4. So, wow, big moment there in this race. And if it is going to rain, Justin, And I don't know if it is. If that is true, the front three would technically, if it rained now, be the front three in the race.
Right.
I've seen this before. As recently as 2 weeks ago. So we might see it again. But, surprise, there's a big moment there coming off of turn 9. I don't know what the weather's going to do, but it has got darker, and surprise, choosing those tyres suggests that it might rain. I don't know. Who knows?
It is decidedly darker out there. You're not wrong about that. So I think you might have actually hit the nail on the head. I think that's more likely than surprise fitting the wrong tires on accident, because that would be weird. And this would also explain why Jam Pancakes is wanting to stay out so long. Like, why is he continuing on to do a 16th lap on this set of tires? That seems like a strange choice, but not if it, or 17th lap on this set of tires. Seems like a strange choice, but not if it's going to rain. Meanwhile, CRT Morso with the DRS, with the slipstream, is going to get the inside line on Jam Pancakes. He is going to take the lead of this race with that set of hard compound tires. Meanwhile, Surprise gets ahead of his teammate TRL Martin. They're all so close, though. It's less than a second between the top four, and somehow OMG It's Joe is still not within DRS range. Very strange for the Mercedes driver. Up ahead, though, Surprise going side by side with Jam Pancakes. He's going to get the position on the racing point through turn 4. Another atypical overtake there. That's not a place where you usually see. I mean, you do see them every now and again, but clearly showing the difference in pace between their tires. And yeah, Valachi Surprise follows him through, or follows Morso through. And again, Morso is on the set of hard tires they started on this race, as well as TRL Martin. Martin's going to be looking to follow through on Jam Pancakes as well. Meanwhile, for the lead of the race, Valachi Surprise up the inside into turn 10 is going to easily make quick work of CRG Morso with those fresher, softer tires.
This is absolutely relentless from Valachi Surprise. Joe's been left behind. Of course, he's on the hard compound, but he should still be getting there a little bit quicker. Surprise has disappeared, and with that 3-second time penalty he has to disappear. He's got to get a move on and race off into the distance. And I have to say, Joe, this might Justin, sorry, not Joe, and there is the rain.
That was rain.
The rain now. Yeah, it is starting to rain. They're reaching for the umbrellas in the grandstands. We have some rain here today at the Circuit de Catalunya. Rain in Spain. Surprise has the lead now. Morso and Martin are now net second and third if the rain continues to fall. This is absolutely incredible. I'm saying that, but I've seen this just 2 weeks ago at this very racetrack, and it threw the race in the air. Well, we're going to see it all again. So it's Surprise now leads this race. What a decision it was to go on to the mediums. Why did nobody else do it? Why did no one else do it? And will Jam Pancakes, Justin, get to the pits before he gets a puncture? Because he must be out on his feet on those tyres. They must be finished.
Yeah, especially with the rain starting to come down now as well. He's going to be really, really hurting out there. He's got Mulder just behind him. Danny F31 not that far off either. So Jam Pancakes is... and CRG Pinecone as well, actually making a bit of a charge. He's going to make the move on Danny F31. It's another overtake into the turn 10 hairpin inside line for the Mercedes. Is going to easily allow him to breeze past that Mercedes with, again, much, much fresher tires. 17-lap-old tires on that Ferrari. Let's see if LCR Leopard, who has also been into the pits for a set of hards, let's see if he can dispatch the Ferrari of Danny F31 as quickly as Pinecone did, as everybody's coming around to start lap number 19 now. The Ferrari of Danny F31 peels off into the pits. So does Jam Pancakes as well. Andy, if you can keep an eye on those guys and let me know what tires they're going on to. Leopard moves up into 7th position as a result of that. Martin and Morso are side by side. Martin takes that position off of Morso. Meanwhile, Pinecone and Mulder are side by side as well into turn 1. Pinecone with the inside line does move himself up ahead of the Toro Rosso up into what is now 5th position for the Mercedes. So it's 4th and 5th after starting from 2nd and 3rd for the two Mercedes guys, and it is the two Alfa Romeos that lead the race.
Intermediates for Jam Pancakes and Danny F31. I think they really had no choice, Justin,
Yeah.
by having those medium tires on. If they went any longer, they'd have been risking a puncture and totally destroying the race. They might still destroy the race going on to these tires at this stage. They were stuck in a rock and a hard place, but they are now out on the racetrack on the inters. I'm keeping an eye on both of them. It's not looking too promising. I think we're at least 1, maybe 2 laps away from the ideal moment, and it was a clever strategy from Martin and Morso. No wonder 5 out of the 7 drivers outside the top 10 opted for the hard tyres, because it was always going to rain. That's why they did it, and it's beginning to work out really well for them now, isn't it?
Yeah, Surprise looking like an absolute genius, actually, after switching onto those medium compound tires. He's almost built that 3-second gap that he needs between himself and his teammate, because, again, he does have that 3-second time penalty. It's 2.8 currently, the gap between the two Alfa Romeos riding on board with CRG Morso. He is going to pick up the DRS. I'm not sure how much longer the DRS is going to be active for these guys. It doesn't look like he's actually opened it. Has he not deployed? Oh! And there goes OMG It's Joe just breezing past Morso. I swear it looked like Morso didn't actually deploy his DRS there. I'm not sure why, but yeah, he's in 0 for deployment. That's a strange one. OMG It's Joe now closing up to the back of TRL Martin at a pretty quick pace, I have to say. Of course, he does have much fresher tires compared to the Alfa Romeo, so I'm not entirely surprised that OMG It's Joe is closing up so darn quickly, but I have to say, one person that we haven't talked about in a little while here, Andy, who unfortunately seems to be struggling as of recently, is Snazzy Evening, down in 9th position after making that stop for the hard compound tires. Mulder becomes the next person to pick up a 3-second time penalty. So yeah, Snazzy Evening, oh man, a lot of work still to do for him. 13 laps to go, and the rain is falling.
And not going well for Snazzy Evening. I also want to pick up on the intermediate tyres. Still not working, Justin. Jam Pancakes has just lost about 2 seconds in the first sector alone to ESR Amazed, having been overtaken. So Inter's still not working. Things not going well for Snazzy, as you say, as he hunts down Alper Ball, 8/10 behind him. But things looking very good for Veloci Surprise. He's already got that 3 seconds back as OMG It's Joe gets onto the back of TRL Martin coming out the final corner. Are we going to see a move here for second place in the Grand Prix? Martin defends unlike Merceau, and I have to say, if I was Martin, I'd be doing that as well, because this is essentially for position with the rain falling, and Joe predictably sweeps around the outside and takes the place away. It's worth defending, why not? It is essentially for position with the rain falling, but on those tyres, it was like Premier League against Championship, and through goes OMG Joe up into second place.
I don't get that reference, but I can sort of piece it together. TRL Martin slipping down into 3rd position. He's still ahead of CRG Morso. Again, those two guys started from outside the top 10. They started on the hard compound tires. They probably knew that the rain was coming. Obviously, all of the drivers would have gotten a weather forecast, but it's still kind of drizzling. It's still not Inter's conditions, as Andy already pointed out. Unfortunately, Jam Pancakes and Danny F31 really struggling out there in last and second to last at the moment, which is 12th and 13th. So they're not having a good time currently. And I have to imagine Martin and Morso are probably really struggling, because they're already past the pit window as far as, Alper Ball has had a bit of an off. Oh, and he's retired as well. That's unfortunate. I think he had a bit of a collision with Snazzy Evening. I could see a bit of carbon fiber being strewn there, but I have to say I'm surprised that he retired so quickly after that incident, because this is a pretty crazy race. He still could have, and there he is, parked up in the spot where the AI always parks up at in Sector 3 for some reason at the on the left side after turn 12. But yeah, I'm surprised about that one, because it's a pretty crazy race, and there's definitely points on offer here, especially with Jam Pancakes and Danny F31 struggling in the way they are. So it's looking like the guys in the top 10 right now are probably not going to be losing out on any points or anything. It's a 46-second gap down to Jam Pancakes from Alper Bar or ESR Amazed or whatever it might be at the moment. So, whew, this is a crazy one. At the moment, though, it is all about the battle for 3rd position, isn't it, Andy?
It is at the moment. It's going to be quite the battle, but I think Pinecone, unless the rain continues to fall and falls quickly, is going to be quickly snatching that away from these two. He, of course, is on the same strategy of Surprise and Joe of pitting earlier. Obviously, Martin and Mercer still on those tyres at the start of the race, so Pinecone, it should be easy pickings for the Pinecone, and he should get through on these two if the rain doesn't continue to fall quicker, because it's not falling as quickly as I've seen it fall in Spain. So, you know, maybe it's just going to drizzle and drizzle with this to the end of the race. We'll have to wait and see. But still, Jam Pancakes and Danny F31 are losing hat loads of time. And Danny's actually come back into the pits, Justin. So I'm going to have a little look to see what goes on this time. Another set of intermediate tyres for him. And we've got OMG It's Joe in the pit lane. So what's going on here? OMG It's Joe into the pits. And he is going for a set of inters. I don't think I've seen the DRS disabled sign yet, which is usually the biggest indicator to go into inters. So OMG It's Joe taking a hefty gamble here and going on to the inters. He's going for broke with 10 laps to go in the Spanish Grand Prix, Justin. What drama we're having here in Spain today.
Interesting. And also, this another sort of ramification of the weather that we haven't really talked about is if it doesn't go to Inter's conditions. Oh yeah, what'd you see?
Yeah, Justin, I've just seen Franglish and Joe side by side on pit exit. Medium tyre on Franglish, enters on Joe, and Franglish has breezed past him and left him for 10. So that tells you everything you need to know about those tyres. It's not ready. He's lost a second in 3 corners, and it's a big error from OMG Joe to do that. And you can see him struggling now, losing time, hand over fist, a big error. Martin back up to second, Merso back up to the third. As I say that, Merso and Pinecone are battling, Justin. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, Pinecone trying to go around the outside. Well, he went up the inside and then had the outside line for the exit, and it looks like Morso trying to go around the outside of the very long turn 12, which is a difficult thing to do, but Pinecone just about manages to squeeze ahead. But of course, just to remind our viewers, Veloce Surprise has to pit again. He cannot just stay out there, whereas Martin actually cannot stay out there either. He has to pit as well. So the leader at the moment who does not need to pit again is actually CRG Pinecone. And there was a stage in this race where I had all but written off Pinecone, if I'm totally honest. I was very concerned about the potential of him picking up a podium here today. It really was not looking good for him, but I have to say it's looking better and better as we do lose Danny F31. We are now down to just 11 drivers in this race. This is absolute chaos. This is worse than Baku. I cannot believe what we're seeing. But yeah, Pinecone is the only one out there, he's the leading car at the moment that does not need to come back in. Veloce Surprise has fit 2 sets of medium tires. He has to come back in. TRL Martin is on the set of hard tires that he started on this race. He has to come back in. CRG Pinecone technically has been out. We got a yellow flag in Sector 2 and Sector 3. I'm not sure who that was for. I think that might have been for one of the back markers. But yeah, Pinecone doesn't technically need to come in again. So if the conditions stay as they are right now, which is to say not intermediates, then this could work out extremely well for Pinecone because, of course, Morso behind him also needs to come into the pits, having started on those hards. So, I don't know. As this goes on, this is looking better and better for Pinecone and Leopard. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but Leopard could be on for another second-place finish here. Oh, Pinecone now on Martin.
Yeah, Pinecone going past Martin. That was easy package. Martin must be driving on the canvas, for goodness sake. Those tyres must be finished for he and Merso. They must be praying for it to rain heavy enough, but at the moment still no sign, as we now lose Champagne from the Grand Prix. We've got 10 runners from the initial 17 starters. This is astonishing, the way we're losing cars. We're losing cars like flies, or dropping like flies. This is astonishing. And Justin, I just want to mention another thing. Not only are Martin and Merso driving on the canvas, maybe that's why so many drivers opted for the hard compound in the pit stop, because they didn't think it would rain hard enough. Maybe the forecast suggested it wasn't going to rain hard enough. Maybe that's why. Because we were so confused to see so many opt for the hards. That could explain it, because I'm so surprised that we've gone this long with the rain falling and still we wait for anyone finding any time on inters. Incredible.
DRS has not been disabled, and actually DRS for LCR Leopard is going to put him alongside the Renault. I think a bit of carbon fiber being shed there. I'm not sure if that was from either of them or if that was from somebody else. I think that might have been a bit of front wing actually going missing from LCR Leopard there. Nope, never mind. Nope, everything looks intact on the Red Bull. So Leopard, though, did use that DRS on the run down towards the turn 10 hairpin, did make the overtake on CRG Morso, and we do have TRL Martin coming into the pits at the end of lap 25 with 8 laps still to go in this race. What tire compound is he going to go on? Normally, I'd just ask you to stick with him, Andy, but actually, I'm going to stay with him in the pit lane. You let me know if anything starts happening out on circuit, but I'm very curious to see what tires the Alfa Romeo is going to be going onto, and it is a set of intermediates. These have not worked for anybody so far. I don't think OMG It's Joe has been doing well in the intermediates. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I have to say I'm surprised about that one. Again, DRS has not been disabled.
Well, you know, Justin, the key thing is here, TRL Martin, much like Snazzy Evening, much like Jam Pancakes and Danny F31, I think it was, that went on the inters, he had to make that decision, and Mercer's going to have to make that decision soon too. They were stuck in a situation where they either drove on and got a puncture or came in and put the inters on, and that's exactly why Martin's been pushed into a corner and been forced to do it. He either did that or he put on a set of the medium tyres, but why would you do that when you've just ran that long on a set of hards? So Martin simply had to go for it. He's done that now, and I'm looking at the gap between he and Franglish. It's 1.6 at the moment. Is that gap going up or is it going down? I tell you what,
it's going up
still, but it's levelling out more than it was earlier. It's going up, but levelling out more. Maybe just 2 or 3 more laps, Justin, and we might just get to the intermediate stage, and that would be a big smile in the face for Veloci Surprise if that's the case, because there's another car coming in, and that's Merso, and he's in the same situation as Martin. He's been pushed into a position where he has to. The tyres are absolutely finished for he and Martin. Finished.
26 laps of Catalunya on a set of tires. That is insane. And he's also going onto the intermediates. Again, the intermediates have not... I know we're right on that period. It's very difficult out there. I'm not poo-pooing the decisions of any of the drivers here, but I'm just very surprised by these decisions. As actually AOR Franglish moves into the top 5. Franglish has not scored a single point this season, and he's now on for 10 championship points in this race here today. I'm going to stick on board with Morso. He's about 2.5 seconds ahead of TRL Martin. He's 1.4 adrift of Franglish, 1.8 adrift of Franglish, 1.9 adrift of Franglish. I sound like an auctioneer, 2.1 adrift of Franglish. This is absolute insanity. And again, Surprise has to pit again. Mulder has to pit again as well, too. So right now, the top 3... I'm sorry. Franglish might actually be on for a podium here, potentially. Although, actually, I don't think Surprise would come out behind him, so I think he might be on for a 4th place finish. But this is the weirdest race. It's not crazy in the, like, sort of traditional sense, because it's not a full-on wet race. It's not a full-on, full-bore, side-by-side battling kind of dry race either. This is the weirdest, like, kind of crossover weather I think I've ever seen in a Formula 1 game. It is right on that limit.
Oh, here comes Mulder into the pits after 26 laps on his hard tyres, Justin. When those tyres come off, I'm jumping out the commentary box and painting on the canvas of them. They're worn that far down. I could just start painting on the canvas.
Oh, Franglish is coming in.
Yeah, I think it is now time, because Mursel was starting to gain on Franglish, so it is now time, perhaps, for a set of intermediate tyres. Hallelujah is the cry. And in they come for a set of inters. Is it time, though? I think it might just be time to do it. Mursel then takes 4th place back as Mulder and Franglish change onto the inter. Well, that could be good news for Veloci Surprise, Justin. But the big question is, this is a big question. If Surprise comes in, does Pinecone and Leopard stay out and go to the end?
That is an excellent question, actually. I would say that is the question of the moment, because let's see. What is the gap between Leopard and Morso? It's 26.2. Let's see how Leopard is dealing with that. 26.1, 26.2. So it's still right on that limit. And again, DRS has not been disabled technically.
Surprise stays out, Justin. He's staying out again. So Surprise, he's going to have to leave this very late. But the problem for Surprise is there's nothing wrong with leaving it late. But if Pinecone and Leopard stay out, there is a problem with that, because he won't be able to catch them back up. So this is on a knife edge for Veloci Surprise. Is he going to just come in on the final lap? Or the one from the end, I should say?
Okay, ESR Amazed as well. Look at the gap between Amazed and Joe. Look at it. It is tumbling down. So I mean, if I'm Surprised, I'd probably go on the softs. I mean, this is just impossible to predict.
This is honestly, as you said a moment ago, Justin, I've never seen a race where the transition period between wet and dry has been so unpredictable. Very often it's pretty routine. A couple of laps, DRS disabled, in you come, change the tyres. But here today, it's caught several drivers out. Some of the drivers, to be fair, the likes of Martin, the likes of Mursel, and a couple of the others on the mediums, were kind of forced into a corner and either had to come in or get a puncture. So I understand
DRS
that.
disabled.
And there it is, DRS disabled. But the big question is, if Surprise pits, what does Pinecone and Leopard do? Surprise has to pit. He simply has to. He's been on the mediums twice. He has to come in, regardless. Pinecone and Leopard can tippy-toe around to the end within the regulations. So what's going to happen here? This is going to be incredible what's going to happen next. I cannot wait to see if Pinecone and Leopard try and hang out on a set of ice skates, because this is going to be interesting. Very interesting. And Pinecone's coming in. Pinecone's coming in. Is Leopard coming in? Yes, it's just simply too wet, and Surprise is safe. He's safe.
Unbelievable. I can't believe through all this chaos that Surprise has actually nailed the strategy. I cannot believe that. I mean, unbelievable, unbelievable. It's been so difficult out there from a strategy standpoint, from a driving standpoint as well too. Hell, from a commentary standpoint, it's been difficult out there today. But Surprise has managed to keep the lead of the race through all of it. I just simply cannot believe the drive. This is one of the most impressive drives I think I've ever seen in sim racing, full stop. I mean, really, really impressive stuff. Meanwhile, We do have some battling going on a little bit further down. Let's focus on that, because I think Surprise has pretty much wrapped this up with a little bit less than 4 laps still to go in this race. Snazzy Evening way down in 8th position. He's got to be wondering what could have been. It's not been the best race for him. He's picking up the slipstream on AOR Franglish. He's looking to grab a couple more championship points. The McLaren defends the inside line into turn 1. Late on the brakes for the Haas. He tries to go around the outside. Bit of contact between the two of them, but Snazzy Evening does move ahead of the McLaren. He's going to have the outside line now, though, for turn 3, but you can see AOR Franglish just backing off out of that. He's not giving it full throttle, and he is going to slot back into 8th position, despite having slightly fresher tires. So Snazzy Evening seemingly coming to grips a little bit quicker in these conditions with the intermediate tires compared to AOR Franglish. But wow, what an absolutely ridiculous race. I'm so glad that you and I have gotten to see this, Andy, because this has just been one of the strangest, weirdest races I think I've ever seen in my entire life. I've been doing commentary now for over same tire compound, same tire life as well too. So with a couple of laps or a few laps still remaining, there could still yet be a battle for 2nd position.
Yeah, there could still be. I'm just trying to get to grips. My mind's scrambling at what's just taken place over the last 10 or 15 laps. But yeah, Leopard applying some pressure. Can he get there? But yeah, you've got to say, well done, Veloci Surprise, under all that pressure, and all things considered, all the variables, he nails the strategy, times it perfectly. And you know, what made him put those medium tires on? What made him do it? Does he know something that the rest of the drivers don't know? Because it was just perfect. He did the perfect amount of laps on them just to come in and go, okay, tires are in good nick, take them off, on at the inters, and away I go. Perfect stuff from him, and he's caught everyone else napping, and he's on course to re-establish the championship lead, Justin. But Leopard, it has to be said, what a recovery it's been from him up till now. Will he get to Pinecone before the end? I think that's a tall order as the race finally begins to settle down. For those watching in the comments section, let us know who's your driver of the day today, because a pretty interesting afternoon. But for me, Justin, at the moment, I've got to say, Veloci Surprise, just keeping it all together once again under such crazy conditions.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. I'd say he's probably the #1 contender. It does look like Pinecone is going to be on for yet another podium finish, though. He's going to make it 3 out of 3 after missing the first 2 rounds of Season 18 of the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League, as ESR Amaze picks up a 3-second time penalty. Wow, he's actually a full minute behind OMG It's Joe. And that actually, I think that's a great talking point. OMG It's Joe has got to be so frustrated with his performance here today, with everything that's gone on. I mean, he was right up there. He was on a whole other level. He was on that level with Surprise, but when it came to scything through the field, when it came to getting through all of that traffic, Surprise was just on another level compared to OMG It's Joe. Maybe Joe is still just kind of feeling the vacation vibes, the holiday vibes. Let's actually switch back over to Franglish, because he's actually managed to reel in Snazzy Evening. I think that gap was about 1.52 seconds or thereabouts for 7th position between the Haas and the McLaren, but AOR Franglish has actually managed to close that back in. He's within 1 second. No DRS, obviously. Maybe it's not obvious. I shouldn't say obviously, because we did have DRS for a number of laps under with a lot of cars out there on intermediate tires. So maybe I shouldn't say obviously, but Leopard's within 2 seconds of Pinecone. Franglish is within 1 second of Snazzy Evening. Mulder's picked up a 3-second time penalty. Oh man, I hate to say this, but I'm actually kind of glad that this race is ending, just so that we can mentally parse everything that just unveiled before us, because this has been just a weird, strange race, and there's been drivers up and down the field. OMG It's Joe was battling for the lead, now he's down in 9th. Snazzy Evening was in the top 5, now he's down in 7th. LCR Leopard looked like he was barely going to get a top 5 finish, now he's on the podium. Morso and Martin started from outside the top 10, they're both in the top 5, so there's been so much shuffling around, but I tell you, the one constant, which you already touched on here, Andy, has been Surprise, and what else can we say about the drive today? It's been something else.
Absolutely brilliant. He's just kept it all under control, did the right thing at the right time, played the percentage game the way you should. I just want to pick up on what you were saying earlier about OMG It's Joe. I'm actually going to be a little bit critical of OMG It's Joe here, and I know he's not really in the championship fight in a sense, because he's not made 3 out of the 4 races, so maybe he was just going for the win, not caring about the points. But I think he was throwing all the eggs in the one basket to try and beat one man, and that is Veloci Surprise. I think OMG It's Joe is so determined and is so desperate to beat Veloci Surprise that he made the wrong call. It's simply an aggressive and ambitious decision, and it's cost him a hatful of points just in an attempt to beat Surprise. But we've got to talk about Surprise, as you say, Justin, completing a masterful drive, played it perfectly, and he's going to win by quite a distance. Only that 3-second time penalty to his name as a blemish.
Yep. And there he is. The Alfa Romeo driver swerves across the line. He does claim victory. CRG Pinecone is going to make it a third podium in 3 races for the Mercedes team. LCR Leopard continues his streak as well. This is actually his worst finish of the season so far for LCR Leopard in 3rd position. So you have to really commend the Red Bull driver on what has been an absolutely incredible start to his season. He will fall behind Veloci Surprise after this race, after a points gap of 10. Actually, I don't know who picked up the fastest lap there, but Leopard is going to keep things alive with that 3rd place finish. Unbelievable consistency from him. CRG more so inside the top 5, as is TRL Martin, so it's going to be 35 points, maybe even 36 points for the Alfa Romeo team after today's race. LCR Mulder in the Toro Rosso is going to bring home 8 championship points. He's actually currently sitting in 14th with 4 championship points, so this is going to move him up to Jam Pancakes level, actually, just behind. So I think he's going to be in 11th position after that 6th place finish for LCR Mulder. So he triples his points haul with that result there today. Whew. I'm mentally exhausted. Normally I'm exhausted after a league race, because we've been, doing commentary and it's just completely frantic, and there's side-by-side this and DRS overtake that, and, just lots of crazy stuff going on. But this one has just been mentally exhausting from trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
Mad, Justin. Absolutely mad. Our brains are scrambled with the strategy. It rained and rained and rained. It drizzled and drizzled and drizzled, but still the dry tyres clung on. The inters grained out, and several people in the end found it hard going on the intermediate tyres until the right moment came. And who guessed correctly? Of course, Veloci Surprise did, and he takes home the victory here in Spain in the Spanish Grand Prix, round number 5 of the championship, his 4th win in 5 races. After that, the bad result last time out in Baku, he regains the championship lead with CRG Pinecone coming home in 2nd. LCR Leopard, 3rd place for him, a solid result in the end after what was looking pretty average to begin with. That brings an end his run of 1st or 2nd places in the opening 4 races. Murso recovers to 4th from 11th. A big shout out to him. Big shout out to Martin from 13th to 5th. LCR Mulder came from 15th to 6th. So that just shows you the kind of drama we had today. And it's Nazi Evening coming home in 7th. He'll be disappointed to come home in 7th, given he started 4th and 4 cars ahead of him. Started behind him. The AOR Franglish, he was 8th from 12th, again outside the top 10. OMG Joe finishing 9th after that wrong call. And ESR Amazed, he got the final point in 10th. And the rest of them ended up in the barrier, Justin.
Yeah, unbelievable. Also, by the way, I love that at the results screen there, while we were just looking at the top 10 and the final results and everything. Did you notice it was completely blue skies? So, I mean, during the podium celebrations, the rain had already stopped. That's how, again, on the limit it was out there today. I don't know if we're going to be getting any interviews for after today's race, but we will give people the option. So we'll hang out and talk for just a little bit and see if anybody wants to come in and chat to us, because yeah, that was a really, really strange race. I hate to keep harping on about it. I know I probably sound like a broken record, but that was really freaking weird. It was really, really weird out there. The end result was Surprise picks up, as Andy mentioned, his 4th win in 5 races so far in Season 18 of the AOR Hype Energy F1 League on the Xbox platform. So Surprise continues to put in those fantastic results. Again, the Baku race, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, bit of a fluke. There was a lag incident involving a car that wasn't actually in the place where it was showing on the screen for Surprise, so that was completely nothing to do with him. That's one of those things you can chalk up to a technical difficulty. We could pretend that one was an engine failure or something like that, or an ERS deployment failure, since he finished in 9th place. He didn't come to a screeching halt by the side of the circuit, but he did struggle out there after the issues that he had. So, but Surprise does regain the lead of the championship with Leopard. Simon, of course, wasn't here today, so he is going to be dropping behind more so. And also, actually, he's going to be dropping behind Pinecone as well. So Simon, I believe, is going to be dropping down into 5th position after in the championship after not being able to attend for today's race. And I believe more so is going to take his spot in 3rd. And Pinecone moves up into 4th position. A solid result, though, for Martin today, getting into the top 5. Again, a solid result on the whole for Alfa Romeo, you have to say, in 1st and 5th. They looked fairly good out there, especially considering Martin was outside the top 10. I did say it, though, didn't I, Andy? Before the start of the race, I said more so in Martin, I would put them on for a good finish. And, well, there you go, both of them in the top 5.
Yeah, I would say that was looking good on the dry weather, but then when the weather changed, I don't think we could have predicted anything, but in the end, that somehow came to fruition in the end. That did happen. Just a quick note, Justin, I've been reading the AOR chats, a couple of behind-the-scenes things. We don't have anyone in here joining us, so I might as well say what some of the drivers are saying.
Go for
Kieran Martin says that the weather system's a bit naff. Broken, says Surprise. It almost ruined Josh Surprise's race, and it did ruin Joe's race. Joe says that he got a sudden loss of grip in the last sector, so that's why he came into the pits. And what else did Martin say? Martin says he had Jeff screaming on the radio to come into the pits, and it was 2 laps too early for Inters. So, that's the kind of chaos that the drivers were experiencing. We were experiencing chaos in the commentary box as everyone tried to predict what was happening next. So it seemed like the drivers were having the same issues, Justin. They just couldn't cope with what the game was throwing at them, whether it's broken, whether it was just totally unpredictable. I don't have a clue. But as I say, Martin was getting told by Jeff to get into the pit lane, and Joe in the final sector had the car sliding like crazy and decided to come in, and ended up out there for about 5 or 6 laps before it was time to change tyres. So there you go. It really did throw a curveball to the drivers, didn't it?
Well, I tell you, the drivers are pretty upset, but I like that. I wouldn't like to see every single race like that, week in, week out. I think it would get a little bit tiresome at one point. Like, come on, let's just have somebody win who deserves it on outright pace. Not like Surprise didn't deserve it, but you know what I mean. It's nice. It's nice seeing a dry race every once in a while because you get to see the full potential of these drivers, see them going head to head, find out who's the fastest, that kind of stuff. Whereas it's more about strategy, making the right calls, that kind of stuff when you have the changing weather conditions, that sort of stuff. So it alters the results a little bit. So it's not like I want to see that sort of race week in, week out, because yeah, it would get a little bit tiring. But I have to say that was something really truly special that we saw out there. So despite how upset the drivers might be with the completely ridiculous weather that we just saw in that session, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I'm not hoping to see that sort of situation in Monaco because instead of 10 drivers finishing, I think we might have 2 or maybe even just 1 potentially. But yeah, it is going to be the Monaco Grand Prix next week. It is going to be the Principality that we head to. And yeah, it is next week, right? Yeah, we don't have a break week next week. That's not until the following week. So yeah, we are going to be heading to Monaco next week where, things could get interesting. Certainly in season 16, we had a new winner in the form of P1R Brown, bad Leroy Brown, picking up that win in Monaco in season 16. So the question is, will we see a different winner? Because so far this season, it's been all about Leopard and Surprise. They are the only 2 drivers that have actually picked up a win. If you had to pick one, Andy, if you had to pick a winner for Monaco next week that isn't Leopard or Surprise, who are you thinking? Maybe more so, maybe Martin? Who would you put your money on?
From what I've seen so far, Pinecone. I think he's the next man in line, to be honest. 3rd in China, 2nd in Baku, 2nd again today. Mm-hmm. Seems quite clear that if it's not going to be those 2, it's going to be him after 2 did not starts in Australia and Bahrain. He's came along and been on the podium consistently, just as Leopard's been, just as Surprise has been for the most part. So I would say if Leopard or Surprise run into trouble, or if Pinecone has a good afternoon, it will be him that will pick up the victory. I just want to touch on what you were saying there about the weather system, Justin. I have to totally agree with what you were saying. In real life Formula 1, the weather isn't predictable as it is sometimes in this game. It throws a curveball. We saw that in Germany a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So as you said, not all the time, but sometimes I think it's great to see that the drivers are scrambling We're scrambling in the commentary box. It just throws it all up into the air. It adds to the spectacle. And that's what you get from a wet race from time to time. So yes, the drivers are moaning, and quite rightly, because they put a lot of effort in and trying to understand the weather system. But when it throws that kind of drama up, I think it's great. I really do. I totally agree with what you said. And I'd like to see that more often, but not all the time. So yeah, looking forward to that. And of course, as you say, looking on to Monaco, it should be a cracker next week.
You could tell it was a crazy race because we actually completely forgot about. We haven't even talked about it since the start. But we had a virtual safety car after a 3-car incident at the beginning of the race in dry conditions as well. The rest of the race was so ridiculous that we just kind of glossed over the 3-car retirement coming out of that final corner. So I think that that goes to just prove what a crazy race it was. So yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to get any drivers for interview today. These guys are probably tired. They probably want to go have a lie down after that insane race. So big thanks, of course, to Andy for joining me. Huge thanks to all of the drivers for putting on a fantastic show, as they do for us every single week. We love all of the drivers. We appreciate all of the drivers, and we can't wait for the next race in Monaco. Big thanks to all of you guys for tuning in, of course, whether you're tuning in live or watching the race back on a different day or whatever it might be. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time for the 6th round of Season 18 of the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League on the Xbox platform. It'll be the Monaco Grand Prix. Thanks. Good night.